Hi, my name's Kelly Forbes. I'm a senior mental health practitioner for Newry and District GP Federation. Today I'm going to be talking to you about thoughts and thinking patterns and the impact that they can have on our mood. So I want to kind of bring your attention over to a really common assumption between how we think and how we feel. So a lot of us would think this is true. Something good happens, we feel good. Something bad happens, we feel bad. That's a pretty common assumption. I just want to pick that apart a little bit more. So I want you to imagine this situation here where the phone rings at 11 p.m. at night. Now, most of you listening have probably done an internal and the next bit we're going to unpick here is the really common types of thoughts that people might have if that situation happened. So a really common one is something's happened, and not in a particularly good way either. Something's happened, or it could be something like, oh, it's one of the kids that wants a lift home at this time of night. It could be, oh, that's more salespeople. There's always people ringing at all hours of the day wanting to talk about double glazing or solar panels. Such a common one for a lot of people is that automatic, there's been an accident, something bad's happened, it's really bad, it's been an accident. Other thoughts that we could have, it might be that we've got relatives that are abroad and maybe they might call that time of night with the change in the hours. Or if we know that somebody's due in the family, it might be, the baby's been born. So whenever we have thoughts, this then pushes us over to how we might feel. So for ones where we think something's happened or there's been an accident, our feelings are likely to be anxiety, fear, worry and dread. If we think it's maybe salespeople, that might be more anger or frustration. If we think it's the kids needing lifts, that might be more about frustration and annoyance. If it's perhaps the relatives calling from abroad, that could be more about joy and thinking that's going to be a really nice conversation. And again, if we've just got the news the baby's been born, that would be a real joy and happiness for us. So coming back to that original idea of something happens and then we feel, there's actually this whole bit in the middle, which is what we think about that situation. So something happens, we think about it and we interpret it, and then we feel. And this is why we work with thoughts within a lot of the approaches within mood, because if we look at the thoughts and we change some of these thoughts, that can then have a really big impact on how we feel. I do want to say a little bit of a note here. There are situations in life that cannot be thought about any differently. So, bereavement, trauma, domestic abuse. There are situations that by their very nature are terrible and traumatic, and that's not really the time to be changing and looking at thinking patterns. But what we do know about the mind and the brain, we do know it's negatively hardwired, and we do know that it will jump to worst case scenarios a lot of the time. So whenever that has kind of gone and become intensified and we're thinking in that way a lot of the time, and we're maybe thinking ahead to scenarios that aren't happening, that will have a really big impact on our mood, and that would be the point that we say, let's have a look at some of these thoughts.